We push on with the truth, regardless of the popularity or otherwise of these petulant premiers. Daniel Andrews has been caught lying again. Remember the first time, or one of the first times that he was caught lying, when he said, oh, there's all these people that are not self-isolating and there's hundreds and hundreds of them, but then the police came out and said, actually, no, I've only fined about 30 people for that. That was the first lie. Well, then perhaps the most draconian part of the lockdown measures that exist in Melbourne and will until the end of October is a curfew. A curfew that says it is illegal for you to leave your house after 8 o'clock at night or when daylight saving kicks in, 9 p.m. at night. Well, Daniel Andrews used as the justification for a curfew, for the first time in peacetime anywhere in Australia, that every single one of the decisions that he has been making has, of course, been being made on health advice. Here he is talking about that today.
Following that detailed advice, I've made a number of decisions and I want to run through those for you. From 8 p.m. tonight, a curfew will be implemented. So there will be a curfew across metropolitan Melbourne from 8 p.m. this evening.
Apologies, that was way back when, 2nd of August. The days all kind of meld into one at this point, don't they? On medical advice, we're going to have a curfew. Well, here we are, the 8th of September, and old Dreamy Eyes, the Chief Medical Officer, the one who apparently has been giving all of the advice that he gives and Daniel Andrews follows, told Neil Mitchell today on 3AW he never wanted a curfew. Have a listen to this.
Has the government ever introduced something without your advice or against your advice?
No, not against my advice. You know, the curfew came in as part of the state of disaster, for example. It wasn't a state of emergency requirement. So, you know, that was something that was introduced, but it wasn't something that I was against from a public health perspective.
But were you consulted on it or not?
Yeah, I was consulted on it, but it was a separate decision-making pathway.
Would you have introduced it?
In public health directions? I'm not sure. I haven't reflected on it.
You're kidding me. More than a month after you were told you can't leave your home at night, the Chief Medical Officer, who is apparently the one who's been pulling the strings, wasn't pulling the strings when it came to the curfew. So who was? Who is the health bureaucrat who outranks the Chief Medical Officer? The answer is no one. And this is powers that the idiots in the Victorian Upper House, the Greens, Fiona Patten, and the Animal Justice Party have given him the power to do again anytime he wants for the next 6 months. Curfews have no backing and were not an idea of the Chief Medical Officer. Yet support for Andrews and the Victorian government keeps going up. It's insane. And Andrews is just living in a completely different world because he knows, as long as he speaks with a very deliberate tone, then basically everyone will kind of forget the actual reality of why it is illegal to mow your neighbour's lawn. You'll be limited to just one person if you live by yourself to come over, so good luck picking between your kids about which one's going to be able to come and visit you. Where you have seen all of those jobs lost, and all of those restrictions that mean you can't move around, especially in regional Victoria, which yet again had another great day of no virus, yet you still remain locked down. So Andrews today in his press conference was pushed a little bit about the handling of the second wave. Now remember, the second wave only happened because of the failures of hotel quarantine. Nothing else. There's been no second wave anywhere else. It's all about hotel quarantine. But he's trying to do the lefty Jedi mind trick. There was no failure in hotel quarantine. It was going to happen anyway. Roll the tape.
This second wave is very different to the first wave. Very, very different. And
that you could have prevented the severity of the second
well,
wave.
I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all.
Seriously? I mean, God love Rachel Baxendale, who's asking the questions and getting smashed for it on Twitter. The strength it takes her. And isn't it interesting how the sisterhood's not really there for her when she's being online trolled? Instead, high-paid people over at Channel 2, boo-hoo, someone says nasty things to them on Twitter. This is a reporter doing their straight news job. Yet the snow job that Andrews is yet again shoving down the throats of anyone who'll listen and those who blindly follow, even though they have been locked in their house. Just to make this nice and clear for everyone, he claims the severity of the second wave not at all affected by our decisions. The second wave only happened because of hotel quarantine. That was said by counsel assisting the inquiry into hotel quarantine when it all started. Look at this.
It may even be that every case of COVID-19 in Victoria in recent weeks could be sourced to the hotel quarantine program.
And why is that the case? Because we learnt in that hotel inquiry that Andrews was able to successfully push down the road for 6 weeks because of the first initial lockdown. Now is he going to eventually push it until Christmas Eve because of the lockdowns that'll go till the end of October? We'll wait, we'll see. We know what he wants, but we're going to stay on right up until that report becomes public. Accountability is necessary. Yet another example about the failures of hotel quarantine. Emails were being sent around and sent specifically to members of the health department and the police about just how loosey-goosey the situation was. Now, hotel quarantine is supposed to work that you go to a hotel room, can't open a window, and that's where you stay for 14 days. But apparently, via an email here to the Victorian Police Commander, Timothy Tully, they're still out and about exercising. Too many this morning. We'll continue to monitor, but from my observations, the exclusion zone is being poorly managed. We even saw what looked like someone with a takeaway coffee. They were taking the piss because the security guards were given no training and being overseen by, among others, park rangers. Those are all the decisions of the Victorian government. The second wave only happened because of the failures of hotel quarantine as a result of the decisions of the Andrews government. So I don't care if 50% of the population of Victoria has lost its mind. There are those that are still sane and can still see that your captor is not blameless.